Hi, my name is Josh with Athletes in Action, and I'm here today to show you how to run AIA's Summer Playcation through Zoom. Now, before we get started, one important thing to note is that you will require the Pro version of Zoom, as the basic or free version has a 40-minute limit on group meetings, so that will not work. So please ensure you have the Pro version or higher. A business or enterprise version would work as well. Now, keep in mind that this tutorial will just go over some basic guidelines that we found worked well for our Playcation trial on Zoom. So if you know of any other features, and Zoom has a lot of them, and if you're comfortable working with other features, you can go ahead and use whatever works well for you, but we're just going to offer basic guidelines in case you don't know where to get started. So now we have Zoom open up here. We're going to click the settings button, which is this little gear icon. And over here you just have a bunch of your regular video call settings, so your video for webcam, your audio for your microphone, so you can go ahead and check that those are working before you get on the call. And then we're actually going to click View More Settings here, as Zoom has some extensive features that we want enabled for our Playcation. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is the waiting room. So we want to make sure we have this enabled. And the great feature, or one of the great things about the waiting room, is that as the host, you can actually have control of who joins the call and when they join the call. So before anyone can join the Playcation call, you as the host have to admit or approve their entry. So the waiting room is a nice little feature there. And one of the uses that it might have is if you're having a morning briefing, for example, with your staff or your volunteers who are helping you run the Playcation trial, and they're on call with you as well. You don't necessarily want campers or participants in that call, so you can have them waiting in the waiting room until you're ready to start the day. Then you can slowly admit or allow the campers to enter the call. So it's great for controlling the flow of the meeting and when it starts. The next feature we're going to make sure is enabled is the breakout rooms. If I can just find it here, scrolling down. Right, oh, I might have just missed it right here, breakout room. So you want to make sure this is checked off, because this essentially will allow for our small groups. One thing we have been doing with our Playcation is running small groups like usual, and the breakout room feature is excellent for that. You can put you can control the amount of campers and leaders in each room, and you can decide how big the rooms are and how many rooms you have. So please ensure that you have this checked off as well in your settings. Okay, so those are two main settings that I want to go over briefly, and to make sure that you have enabled before we start our call. So once we have those checked off, we can go ahead and open up Zoom again. And then we're going to show you how to schedule a meeting. So in order to do that, you're going to click Schedule. And notice this is a little pop-up here. So you can name this whatever you want. I'm going to name this AIA Playcation. And then we can actually have, notice there's a date and time here. Assuming you're running a 5-day Playcation trial, or a Playcation week, sorry, you're actually going to click Recurring Meeting. And what this will allow is just one single link. So the one link that this meeting generates will be used for every single day of the week. So you don't have to keep on sending a new link to the participants every single day. They can click on the same link every day, every morning, and it will take them to your call. The next thing we want to do is uncheck require meeting password. It just makes it easier for people to join your call. And then for video, we want to make sure these are both checked on. We just find that having the video on for the host, so the participants can see you and so that you can see the campers, it just allows for a much better experience and interaction that way. So highly encouraged for these two buttons to be checked off. Audio you can leave on, telephone and computer audio. And then we're going to click Advanced Options. Yeah, just make sure again the waiting room is enabled, and mute participants upon entry. And this will just allow for the elimination of some background noise. If you have 4 to 5 or 6 people joining the call all at once, it can get kind of distracting with the noise of everyone joining at once. So if people are automatically muted, that eliminates some of that. So once all these settings look good to you, you can go ahead and schedule. Now I'm not going to click schedule on mine just because I have a preset Zoom call set for this tutorial, so I'm not going to create another one. But if you're ready to create yours, you would just click schedule. And then now I'm actually going to show you what it looks like, how you share the link. So once you've scheduled the meeting, you can actually click meetings. And I'm actually just going to bring this window to the side here because there's some personal information once it pops up here. So for example, I'm on AIA Playcation Zoom tutorial, which is the call I'm on now. On yours, it might be AIA Playcation trial for or AIA Playcation week, or whatever you name to your meeting. And then from here, we can actually click Show Meeting Invitation. And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of information here that you can send to your campers or those who are registering. And this is basically the link that they're going to use to join the Playcation or the Zoom call. So you can go ahead and copy that invitation. In my experience, really the only important link here is the Zoom link. The rest of this information is could be helpful, but it's not really necessary. So as long as you send this link, that's all that is needed for your participants to join the Zoom call. So this is a link that you can send to your participants a week in advance or a couple of days in advance. And like I said before, once you send this one link, they can access this link every morning. So for example, if you have set your Playcation for 9 a.m. every single morning, you would just direct the participants or the campers to click this link every day at 9 a.m. and that will take them to the Zoom call every single day. So once we're able to share the link, we can actually start the call. So once we click Start, this will actually bring us into the call. As you can see, we are in the video chat now. And actually, once we start the call, I'm going to show you a few functions here that we have. So I'm actually going to join the Zoom call with a personal account, and I'm going to show you the waiting room feature. So it's just connecting here. As you can see now, you can see this participant has been waiting for the waiting room. So at this point, they are not a part of the call yet. They're not a part of the meeting. So like I said, this is a perfect time while you're still discussing maybe some internal things with your staff team. You can just leave campers in the waiting room until you guys are all ready to start. So let's say we're ready to start now. We can go ahead and admit the participants, and as soon as I do that, they can go ahead and join the call. And as you can see, they're in the call now. Once they're in the call, you can always put them back in the waiting room as well. If you accidentally let them in, for example, you can put them back in the waiting room, and so on. And a few other features I'll go over as well with being a host is that you can also rename yourself, or anyone can actually rename themselves. So in this case, I'm going to rename myself by clicking More over here and rename. I'm just going to call myself AIA Playcation. And as you can see, my name is now changed. And one thing that we highly recommend too is many of the participants who will be joining our call are probably under their parents or their guardians' names. But when we want to interact with the kids and ask them questions and debrief with them, we actually want to address them by their names. So we actually highly encourage you to encourage parents to change their names to the names of their kids. And so all they would need to do is click participants, and they would just click their name, click more, and they could rename themselves. So we're going to go ahead and do that really quick. Let's say just the name, the kid's name is Johnny. So I'm going to go ahead and rename, and it should pop up as Johnny, just like that. So now I can actually address the campers by name, and it gives a much more personable experience there. Another function as a host is you can actually control the muting functions and unmuting functions. So right now, as you can see, Johnny is on mute and they don't have their video on. Like I said before, we highly recommend that you encourage campers to turn on their video, so it just allows for a better interaction and experience. So you can actually do that as a host. You can click More, and you can ask Johnny to start their video. And once you click this button, it'll give Johnny a prompt that the host has requested for you to start video, and they can go ahead and click that and say yes. And the same thing works for the audio as well. You can ask them to unmute. So for example, if I'm talking and I'm debriefing, asking how the drills went, or in the small group, and I want to hear what Johnny wants to say, then I might ask Johnny to unmute, so then I can actually hear what Johnny wants to say. So those are some of the basic functions of the host, using the waiting room functions, muting, unmuting, asking people to start videos, things like that. And then the rest of it basically kind of functions like just a normal video call with muting yourself, as well as stopping video and things like that. So the next part I'm going to be talking about here is the screen sharing function, which is really important as the host. As the host, you want to make sure you have the Playcation videos ready beforehand. So anything that is going to happen with transitionings or a video playing, you want to make sure as the host you have those loaded beforehand. So I have in a browser here the AIA Playcation video as well as some timers for transition and allowing kids to practice, and so the kids can see on screen how much time they have left before the next section starts. So as you as the host, you have the responsibility of kind of facilitating that transition period and playing the videos as well. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So let's say it's now time to play the videos. We're going to go ahead and click Share Screen, and we're going to click the browser or the window that you have the videos loaded on. So here it's Google Chrome for me. And you want to make sure you click Share Computer Sound, because if you don't, the video is going to be playing without any audio at all. So that's really important that you check that off. You also want to make sure you check off Optimize Screen Sharing for Video Clip, and that's just going to allow for better resolution and video playing for your participants, and it's going to make it a little smoother for them. So once you check off those two buttons, you're going to click Share. And as you see, I have my AIA Playcation video ready here. And right now your participants can see your entire screen here, so we want to make sure we full screen this, and we want to press play. So right now your participants can see and hear everything that's going through your video. While you're playing your video, you actually want to make sure you're on mute so that your mic does not come through, or else you might hear some scratching or background noise while the video is playing. So it's really important that you mute yourself in the Zoom call before you play any video. You also want to make sure, I'm going to stop sharing for a second here. You also want to make sure you mute all the participants before you play the video as well. So you see this mute all function. You want to just click that so you ensure that anyone in the call is not going to be tapping their microphones or making any background noise while the video is playing, or else it could be quite distracting. So before you play the video, you're just going to click mute all, and then you're going to go ahead and screen share like I just showed you, and you will go ahead and play that. Now, after you finish playing the first section of the video, there's a bit of a transition period, I think around here for 4 minutes for the first day. So for the first day, after the intro and after Coach Amy demonstrates the drills, there's actually a time where it says you can pause here to help transition to the next segment. So usually here during our trial, we've given kids about 15 minutes to practice their drills. So they have 15 minutes to come back before we start the next section. So at this point, I'll pause the video as the host, and then I'm going to actually switch to my timer on YouTube here and full screen it and go ahead and play that. So as you can see, the kids know that they have 15 minutes left before we start our next section of the Playcation session. So this timer is just on YouTube. You can just YouTube it and you just play it, and make sure again that you're on mute and not making any background noise. And yeah, kids can look at this at any time they want, so they know how much time they have left. Okay, so let's assume that the timer's finished now. We can go ahead and exit the full screen, and we want to stop sharing now. And from here, we can hand the following time back to the host, such as yourself if you're the one kind of doing the introductions and kind of talking to the kids, or if someone else on the call is, this is time where you can hand it back to them. Last but not least, we're going to show you, or I'm going to show you the breakout room functions. So we've gone over screen sharing, transition periods. The last thing we're going to do is the breakout rooms. So breakout rooms will be the way you facilitate small groups. And because we enabled that setting earlier on our Zoom preferences, we can actually see this option here in our call now. So to make breakout rooms, we just click this button. And the great thing about this breakout rooms is we can decide how many rooms we want into how many rooms. Or we can determine how many rooms we have, basically. So you can make 4 rooms, 5 rooms, 2 rooms, whatever you want. Let's just say 2 rooms in this case. I only have 2 people here anyway, so we won't really be able to see the fullness of the breakout room, but I can kind of walk you through how it will look like. So it's going to be defaulted to automatically here, but we want to make sure we actually set it to manual. And what that will do is that it will actually give us more freedom of who's in each breakout room. Just because we want to ensure we have at least a leader in every room, and we want to ensure that each day we have the same kids in the same breakout rooms with the same leaders. to kind of develop that relationship and that rapport. So manual, you always want to assign manually the breakout rooms. And from here, as you can see, I have 2 breakout rooms because that was what I set it for. And then from here, I can assign whoever I want. Like I said, there's only one other person in the call right now with me, so I can only assign Johnny. But I'm going to assign Johnny to breakout room 1. If there were more participants, I can assign them into breakout room 2. I can also exchange group members. So if there was Johnny here and another group member in breakout room 2, I can actually swap them. There's an exchange function. Or I can just click move to, they move to breakout room 2, and now Johnny's in breakout room 2. So those are just kind of the functions of the breakout rooms. It's really simple, really straightforward. As the host, you can even make it, just add a little things to make it easier for you. You can also rename the breakout groups. So if you want to name them by the small group leaders, for example, let's say this is Dave's group, you can name the groups whatever you want. And once you have assigned all the people into the rooms, they're not actually in their rooms yet until you click open all rooms. So once you're happy with assigning all the people into their groups, you can go ahead and click open all rooms. And what's going to happen is that every single participant is going to have a prompt that says the host is inviting you to join a breakout room, and then they can click the button that says join breakout room. And you as the host can see who has joined and who has not joined. As you can see right now, Johnny has not joined his breakout room yet because his name is still grayed out. But once he clicks join breakout room, which I just did, you can see that it turns green now, which means that Johnny is now in his breakout room. And that, it's just kind of a notification there for you. And you as the host also have the freedom to join any breakout room you want. You can join them at any time. You can leave at any time as the host as well. So that's a nice little feature for you. Another feature you can have in the breakout room is to broadcast the message to everyone, to every single breakout room. So let's say that there's about 5 minutes left on a schedule for a small group. You can actually type this in the broadcast here, 5 minutes left, and click broadcast. And every single breakout room is going to see that message that, okay, we only have 5 minutes left for a small group. And so it gives a nice little warning and heads up for the small group leaders. And let's say now that small group time is done and we're ready for everyone to return back to the main session with the large group. What you're going to do is press close all rooms. And as you see here, it says all breakout rooms will close in 60 seconds. So at this time, it gives the small groups 1 minute to kind of wrap up their discussion so it doesn't end too abruptly. And for the participants in the breakout rooms, they can either click return to main session, which I just did on my other account, and that brings them back to the main session. If they don't press it in 60 seconds, then Zoom just automatically brings them back to the main session. And now everyone's back out from their breakout rooms. With the breakout rooms, there's also a few other options. You can always play around with them here. You can set the countdown timer for a little longer. Instead of 1 minute or 60 seconds, you can have 2 minutes, warning kind of thing. Those are kind of just settings you can actually play with yourself, but I won't go over those because you can explore those on your own time. But that's essentially it. Those are the main functions that we really use for our Playcation trial. We usually started off with an intro with live video, kind of like what I'm doing right now, talking, interacting with the kids. That kind of transitions into a time of sharing your screen, playing the videos, pausing the video, setting up a timer so the kids can practice the drills. After 10-15 minutes, the kids come back. We play the second part of the video. We debrief, we chat. A solidified structure schedule, I'm sure, will be sent to you. So I won't talk about it too much in this video, but these are the kind of functions that you'll have: is sharing screen, assigning breakout rooms, and just kind of overall interacting with the guests, like asking them to unmute or muting all. So that's kind of all the controls that you have as a host. If you have any other questions about how to do this, I know a lot of churches probably right now have been on Zoom, so I'm sure some of you are already quite experienced with this and might not be very new for you, but if you know any other customizable settings that worked well for you, feel free to share them with us. Also, just feel free to use whatever works well for your church, because there isn't one set way to do this. There's a lot of features in Zoom. If you find some particular features work better, then go ahead and use them. But if you have any questions about how to do this, or any further questions about this tutorial, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We'll be glad to assist you in any way we can. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.